Welcome to A Higher Future in Healthcare, a special series exploring a growing crisis in healthcare, hiring quality talent to deliver quality care. I'm Ubaldo Siminietti, your host, and I sit down with some of the industry's top voices in hiring and recruiting to dissect one of healthcare's biggest obstacles, in the hopes of learning from each other and sharing that information to help us improve how and who we hire so that we can take better care of the communities and the people we serve. I am here with Mandi Gingras, right? Okay. We were talking about that. I love names because my name is Ubaldo Siminietti, but there's like 30 different ways to say it. So it's always fun.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it's great. So it's great to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about 3RNet.
Thank you for the introduction. I love it. My name is Mandi Gingras, as you said. I am the Director of Education for 3RNet. We are the Rural Recruitment and Retention Network. Long name, long title, but basically we are a nonprofit organization. We are a member association, so we are made up of a network of members across the U.S. So we are nationwide. We have a member network in every single state that represents and supports the rural and underserved. So we have really rural areas, we have underserved areas, we have urban underserved. Right. We're made up of, our members can be primary care offices, they might be primary care associations, state offices of rural health. We have Indian Health Services are also members. We're unique in every single state. We run a job board that helps to connect, the network coordinators work to connect candidates who are healthcare professionals. They could be physicians, they might be advanced practitioners, behavioral health specialists, nurses, any type of healthcare professional are candidates within our database. But our network coordinators work to connect candidates, healthcare professionals that might be interested in working in underserved or rural areas across the U.S., and they work to connect those with facilities, the safety net practices, which might be federally qualified health centers, they might be rural health clinics, critical access hospitals, community mental health centers, all types of nonprofit and underserved type facilities.
Well, and I imagine because of COVID, a lot of that, there's a spotlight on the underserved, the underrepresented, because just from some of the DEI work and conversations that we've had in the past, it's people don't see themselves sort of represented in sort of the general healthcare, right? So there has to be some way, or there has to be this amazing network, it sounds like, of people where, for example, the Black community, like they don't necessarily, consider going to therapists who don't look like them because there's not a connection there necessarily. So have you seen, in the last couple of years, have you seen kind of an explosion in that type of access where more and more people are feeling more and more comfortable to seek help, and whatever that means in terms of health?
Exactly. Multi-layers, and definitely one of the things that we've seen typically coming out of COVID is more an awareness of, especially from candidates, of there's more purpose, they want more meaning in their work. So they are looking for organizations that are socially equitable, that are more diverse, and that, like you said, they want to work for a company where they see others that look like them, or that might be able to culturally connect with them and have similarities. It's not really something new in the workforce, but I think it's been heightened since COVID. It's definitely more on the forefront. It's definitely something that's really driven by the younger generations, the Gen Zs, the millennials. They're more consciously aware of bias in the workplace and with employers in general. So it's definitely something that 3RNet is focused on, just like all other healthcare organizations across the country, and something that we really embed in our training, and as we're out and talking with the different healthcare communities across the U.S. is you need to have a diverse workforce to be competitive in today's work environment.
So speaking of that and kind of going into healthcare and hiring, what do you see as the future of hiring in healthcare? I'll just throw that big question out there.
I think it's going to be good communication. You have to
Yeah.
have really strong communication between your leadership and your staff and all employees. Everyone is included in that staff. Without that good communication, you're not going to be successful. You have to have that communication. You have to um, be able to tailor the work to how your employees want to work.
Hmm.
Everyone sees happiness in different ways. Everyone sees diversity in different ways, and
Right.
you have to communicate with each other and find out what is it that makes this person happy. What satisfies them when they come to
Hmm.
work every day, and what satisfies this person might not be the motivators for this particular
Right.
employee. So you have to have that open line of communication. You have to have leaders in place that understand that and
Hmm.
that really work hard to find out what are the drivers, what are those motivators, and how can I satisfy not me personally. Don't have to go out and do all that work, but how can we as an organization
Uh,
meet everyone's individual specific needs to make sure that we're diverse across the generations,
yeah.
across the ethnicities and the cultures, all of that.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And if anything, I think what we've learned over the last couple of years, particularly with the temp workers, right, in healthcare, I think you lose that mission-driven passion, right, or that alignment
Hmm.
because you have so many people who are just doing it for the money in a sense because they were making what 3, 4 times what they could have made before
Exactly.
COVID, for example. And so how because I know that there's a lot of hospitals and health systems that sort of maybe still feel stuck in that having to hire from that pool of candidates. How do you see healthcare kind of coming out of that, getting to your point of hiring people who are mission aligned, who maybe they're still temp workers, but they're aligned with the company, right? They're aligned with the organization and they want to be there,
Hmm.
and they're getting to know the teams they're working with. Um, because again, that communication, if you don't have that fundamental understanding of each other when you're going into surgery, that could cause issues to care, right? I mean, so
Exactly.
how do you see that? Do you see a healthcare getting there?
It's definitely a challenge, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of hospitals. It's something that they have to fight with every single day
Yeah.
because it's a band-aid fix. There is a shrinking pool of candidates to
Yeah.
choose from, and a lot of candidates have gotten onto that. The travel nurses, the locums physicians,
Yeah.
and yes, it can help you in the interim. It's really, really expensive. So
Right.
like you said, it's going to triple the cost, but patients need to be seen, and
Yeah.
services have to be provided. And if recruitment doesn't happen overnight, recruitment can take, depending on who you're recruiting for and where you're recruiting.
Hmm.
You can be recruiting for a physician for 1 to 2 years, sometimes longer if you're in a really remote rural area and you don't have this huge recruitment budget to help
Hmm.
you get out and find candidates. Sometimes you're forced to go with the locums.
Hmm.
There you don't have a lot of other options. So it can be a challenge, and to see it through to the other side, I think you have to keep at it. You have to stay at it. You have
Yeah.
to unveil every stone and really make sure that your recruitment strategy is really robust.
Yeah.
You can't rely on your branding alone to draw candidates to come to you. You really do have to
Hmm.
investigate and really try new things in your recruitment strategies.
Yeah.
And if it's worked for you in the past, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work into the future. You have to be willing and open to
Hmm.
investigate and try what new things and uh, new technologies you might be able to use to
Sure.
help you with that process and to get through that recruitment phase.
Do you think there's kind of a maybe a lack of innovation currently in recruiting, and what does that what do we attribute that to? Because we sort of talked about this a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
bandwidth and things. But what how do recruiting teams and hiring teams get to that point of you know looking for the innovation?
I think that there are a lot of options out there and available to people. I
Yeah,
think it really hones down to what your budget can afford,
sure.
but also being in the know. If you don't know about the
Yeah,
innovations, you're never going to try them.
yeah,
But I think it takes networking to really understand and to be able to talk about what are the tools that exist and who's using what's working for you, and really kind of collaborating with your partners and other
hmm,
organizations to find out what are they using to solve their issues. Is it something that can help my team?
yeah,
And really just getting the word out about the different innovations and new technologies that are
hmm,
available, and AI, and
right.
there's so many things that are available, and everybody's on their phones now. Everyone is um, logged on and has access to these tools, but if you don't know about them, you obviously can't utilize them.
Yeah, awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Is there a compliance aspect to all of this to healthcare hiring? Because it's you train and certify people, right? And there's a lot of certification programs, and I think certifications are a critical part of the evaluation process for many roles in healthcare. Is there a compliance piece here that makes that impacts hiring in a way that we don't see in other industries?
Well, certainly in healthcare, there's a lot more certification. There's a lot more education and
Yeah.
training and things that go along with that for given reasons. But I think some of the biggest challenges are physician is nationwide, but there are a lot of specialties within healthcare
Mhm.
that that certification process can look different state by state.
Sure.
So that creates a lot of challenges. That is something that is very common in behavioral health specialties.
Mm.
That a lot of certifications and licensure, it's not reciprocal from state to state. So
Right.
that leads, to a whole host of challenges along the way. Um, but yeah, I certainly agree. There definitely can be a lot more um, hoops to have to
Right.
jump through in the healthcare industry.
Yeah. It just feels like there's so much stacked against a
And
lot of
there's
these
HIPAA
recruiting
and there's
teams.
Stark
Right.
rules and
Right.
there's a
Right.
lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and non-competes have
Oh
become. I
yeah.
mean, there's so many different facets of that, and there's even with compensation.
Hmm.
Different states have different rules about pay
Yeah. Right.
transparency and things.
Right.
There's so many different players and things that
Hmm.
affect recruitment in general.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you see 3RNet as being uh, maybe like a feeder program? Because what you all are doing is quite amazing, right? You're finding these people who are mission driven, you're training them, you're certifying them. Is there any aspect to your strategy where those people then move from kind of these underrepresented, underserved communities into kind of more standard hospital health systems? Is there a path there that you see?
Well, hopefully, one of our guiding principles is recruiting for retention.
Sure.
So our philosophy is teaching facilities to recruit for the long term,
Hmm.
to have mindful recruiting where you are planting those seeds, and hopefully, because recruiting one is expensive and it's very time consuming
Yes.
and can take a really long time for a rural area to recruit a physician
Right.
to their community, and they're really well needed
Right.
in that community.
Right.
And it really impacts the community if a physician is to leave that organization or to go to a more urban area or a larger hospital system.
Yeah.
So it really makes a huge impact. So one of the things that we really try to instill and really um, kind of complete our message is that you
Hmm.
need to hire for or make all attempts to hire for that long term.
Sure.
So really invest in that
Mm.
onboarding process, make sure you have a really well-rooted recruitment plan,
Mm-hmm.
so that when you do find a physician that can come into your community, you work really hard to get them instilled and fostered into the community,
Yeah.
so that they feel that sense of belonging. And if you're hiring a J1 candidate, that you're really working hard to make sure that they feel welcomed into your community,
Yeah.
and that you're helping them to find the resources and connect with the community so that they can, their family is satisfied in their community, their spouse is
Mm-hmm.
able to make friends and connect in the community to help them feel that sense of belonging, that they'll want to stay in your
Absolutely.
community. So that's one
Absolutely.
of the things that we really kind of strive for.
Yeah, no, that's great. Are there aspects of your program that focus on burnout and mental health as well? Because I
Absolutely.
imagine that work can
Absolutely,
be
because that
overwhelming.
all plays in. So
Yeah,
retention strategies is huge.
yeah,
That's part of that. And not just thinking about it as an afterthought after you bring someone on, but in the beginning process, retention should be built right into your recruitment plan.
yeah.
You need to have a budget for retention, and you need satisfaction surveys, stay interviews, and
Hmm.
it doesn't just happen once a year. You have to have regular communication,
Yeah.
regular touch-ins to make sure that your new staff that you bring in, are their expectations being met? Are their needs
Hmm.
being met? Is there anything that they're not finding that they're looking for? You need to kind of think 3 steps ahead,
Right.
and never take for granted that just because someone is here today doesn't mean that they're thinking, their 5-year plan might be they want to be somewhere else. So you
Absolutely.
always have to know what their goals are and make sure that you can align with their goals.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Mandy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for the insight, and we'll share information about 3RNet along with
Great, great.
this episode. So thank you very much. Any last words of wisdom?
Well, thank you for your time. It's
Yeah,
definitely a pleasure.
yeah,
And diversity, it's definitely on the forefront. It's something that everyone has to pay attention to. So it's a great topic to be focusing on and interviewing. So I appreciate that you invited me to share my thoughts on it today. And it's been a
yeah.
pleasure meeting you.
You too. Thank you so much.
A Higher Future in Healthcare is a production of IIA Healthcare, a technology organization powered by the InterviewIA interview platform, designed to help healthcare organizations hire better. Learn more at www.iaahealthcare.com, and in collaboration with AAPPR, the Association for Advancing Physician and Provider Recruitment, the leading authority on physician and provider recruitment and retention. Learn more at www.aappr.org.